I'm Connie from SEEYOUSPACECOWBOY, and you're watching Forever Loud. So growing up in San Diego, California, I was very fortunate to be able to be a part of the Che Cafe in San Diego. It's a vegan anarchist collective run space that's been there since like the 70s. It has a long, rich history in terms of like hardcore grind, alternative like punk culture, activism, and all that. So growing up, it was a really cool, like eclectic scene that you could go to any show you wanted on any day, just like pop in, and there'd be some like folk punk band playing, there'd be some crust punk band playing, there'd be some hardcore band playing. Any day you wanted, you could go there. And I was fortunate enough to be part of that collective, so I helped run that space throughout like my high school years. I'd like get out of school and hop on a bus and go run a show till like 3 a.m. and then go back home, sleep, wake up at 6, go to high school, all that fun stuff. So the local San Diego scene like shaped me as like a person for sure. There was like not like so much like hometown bands, because we were also like a spot that a lot of bands would tour around, but there was bands that would come down from the Bay, like 10,000 Leagues and like John Cotta, that like really started pushing me towards like things outside of like just listening to 80s hardcore like Black Flag and Surgex, like I mostly listened to up until I was like 13, you know. Bands like Rotting Out and stuff like that would come down from LA, and Ceremony, seeing them during like the Violence era really kind of like pushed me and shaped me as like a person, like moving forward beyond just like, oh, I really like these bands from the 80s and that punk's hardcore scene, to like, oh, this is like something worth being a part of in the current day, up until today, 15 years later. Not really. I feel like I play most situations pretty cool, even when I'm meeting someone that like I admire or something like that. I feel like I can't think of like awkward situations. I mean, maybe like some like late night like parties. I'm sure I've gotten like drunk and like made a fool of myself in front of somebody that like I really like or something like that. But I don't have anything off the top of my head. Okay, so this is it. I have mad love because I lived in Oakland. Shout out Lobo, shout out Wood Street. But Oakland's definitely like the sketchiest place I've ever played as well. Having to park in this like industrialized area and like worry about the gear and stuff. But like I said, like I didn't grow up, sorry. I live there. I love Oakland so much, but it's definitely the sketchiest place I've ever played, for sure. Ooh, okay. I really like Lubricant Like Kerosene. I think it's a fun, dancey song that really kind of encapsulates what cowboy means to me. Like less of like this like post-hardcore, more of like the Blood Brothers, Red Light Sting, fun, sexy vibe of like sass. I really love Late December because it's a song that means a lot to me. It's like really interpersonal, and it's a song that like the only song I've ever made that like I felt like I needed to write due to the tragedy in my life at that time, and that song was about. Writing that song about Natalie's death was really cathartic to me. And honestly, I think that Silhouettes in Motion, currently, it might be just because it's a fresh, newer song, but I feel like that is a song that really brings in the dancey, the fun, the heavy, like every part of cowboy that I find dear is like all represented in that song. Top 3 movies. Okay, Romeo and Juliet by Baz Luhrmann, the 90s Leonardo DiCaprio, Claire Danes one. Dark City, and Blade Runner. Honestly, it seems like every tour we do, it gets topped by something new, but I would have to probably give it to Sound and Fury. I like being from Southern California and playing that fest felt like a rite of passage, and we were super nervous about playing that. But as soon as like we started the set and I saw people just diving off stage and going crazy, all the way to when we played Chewing the Scenery and I was kind of swarmed by people diving over my head and latching on to me to scream along. Like I feel like Sound and Fury really set the bar like unbelievably high. Like Chain Reaction on that tour, like the sold out Chain Reaction show we played was really close, but like Sound and Fury, like just being from Southern California tops it all. Worst show, okay. It was 2018 or 2019, no, 2018. We played a show in New Orleans, and I think 5 people paid. And it was like our first support tour, so we were all excited, like, oh yeah, like we're getting support tours, like we're getting like build our audience. And then we got to that show and 5 people showed up, so it was mostly the bands just watching, and it was kind of like a reality check. They're like, oh, like cool, like yeah, you might have some shit shows still, like it's fine though, like we still had a good time. I think the package mosh for like the entire set and stuff like that. My first ever musical project was a band that really wanted to be ceremony mixed with like more power violence elements. I think I was like 15. I did vocals for it, and it was terrible. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing. It was just kind of like a form of band and play because I was super just obsessed with like punk, and I got more into DIY hardcore, and I'm like, oh, I can do that too. So it was just a wannabe power violence-y punk project. Well, I've known Ethan, my little brother, since he was born, so there's that. I met Timmy at a backyard show in the IE, I think with my old band and his old band, our old Twinkly Screamo bands, Flower State Depends and Kip, were playing together. He says I met him at that show. I don't remember, but yeah, it was a backyard show. AJ I met at the Che Cafe shortly before he joined the band. And Taylor I probably had met multiple times because the San Diego scene was just kind of like everybody everywhere. But the first time like I remember properly meeting him was when I asked him to start this band, because I asked one person, they said no. Go ask Taylor Allen, and so I asked Taylor Allen. He said yeah, and so yeah, that's how Cowboy started. The last song we wrote was, I think, Curtain Call. Curtain Call was the last song we wrote. It was the last song on Coup de Grace, and we kind of like were like figuring out a way to end it, so we kind of decided to go with this Latin guitar infused like send off that felt like appropriate. That's like the last song we wrote outside like the interludes. Those were the kind of last things to come together. I watched Argo actually on the plane on the way over here. I watched a bunch of movies, and I decided to settle in watching a movie that I already knew was good, so I didn't run the gambit of bad movies for the last 3 hours of the flight or whatever. Thanks for watching. I mean, we're on tour currently in the UK, and we go over to mainland, and then you know, Coup de Grace, our new record, dropped a few months ago, and it'd be nice if you checked it out. And then we're going on tour with Devil Wears Prada in the US in like 3 months, because there's no rest for the wicked, and we will never stop touring.